What's something strange your body does that you know isn't quite right but also isn't quite serious enough to get checked out by a doctor? Well, every once in a while my eyes will go blurry and I can't see for a few seconds. I've learned to wait it out, but it seriously freaked me out when I was younger, but from what I know it's basically harmless. By the way, I have 20/20 vision, so it's not my eyesight getting worse over the years. When I cough, a spot in the middle of my back itches like mad. Also, once every few months I'll turn my head a certain way, and it feels like something snaps in my head and a sensation of warmth spreads out in my skull. Probably not a tumor. I will sometimes catch myself mouthing/whispering the last sentence or phrase I spoke. Drives me insane. Edit. I'd like to self-diagnose this as palilalia. Seems to be exactly what I have. Drives me insane. I have one piece of hair on my arm that is white and grows super fast and can get way longer than I've ever seen an arm hair be before. My sister has a single whisker that grows out of her forehead. You won't notice it until it's like 3 inches long. It's rigid and plucks very easily. Edit. One time when we were children, I plucked it when I was mad at her. At totally random times it feels like my heart keeps skipping a beat and I feel short of breath. It goes on for a few hours usually and then stops. I get rubber band headaches sometimes when I focus on doing a certain task. Sometimes the muscles in my hand will tense up and I have to use my other hand to unfold it. I have the first issue too. It is so uncomfortable that I have been to the ER 3 times for it and seen 2 cardiologists. Lots and lots and lots of tests later we found out that my body is super sensitive to adrenaline. Does this happen for you when there's a situation that induces adrenaline? No. Most of the times it's happened is when I'm just laying in bed. I've seen a doc about it in the past, a long while ago. They just said it was my anxiety, but TBH I don't see how it could be, because when it happens I'm never upset or anxious. I get visual snow. That shit is annoying, but I don't know if there's a way to fix it. I just googled what this is and didn't realize that it isn't a normal thing that everyone has. Holy shit, same. I've had this for literally as long as I can remember. Used to bother me as a kid because with active imagination I'd see like human faces and shapes in the static, especially in the dark when there's no other sensory input due to your brain naturally attempting to see faces in things. 100% thought it was ghosts as a kid. As an adult it's still spooky, but I got better at ignoring it. Had no idea this wasn't a thing everybody had. Sometimes, the inability to tell the difference between being nauseated and hungry. That's not abnormal. The nausea is likely the result of a dip in your blood sugar. Sometimes I feel a very acute short pain in my chest. For like 1/10 of a secretary. It feels like it's in between the ribs. Like they pinched the meat. Happens rarely but been happening for years. Does it get worse when you breathe? That's what happens to me. My body doesn't let me know when I need to pee until it hurts. Like I could go a whole day without peeing and then wake up the next morning with intense stomach cramps that go away after a solid 5-minute pee. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, have I peed today? Well, you never know, and I sit down to discover that my bladder was full. Edit. It's nice to know I'm not the only one. After reading comments I'm worried it might be some pinched nerves in my spine or something, because I'm realizing I only began having trouble telling I need to pee after I fell and bruised my tailbone. I haven't had kids yet, so it can't be because of a C-section. But I did get frequent UTIs in middle school, around the same time I got my tailbone. Not sure if it was before or after that my mom never took me to get treated for. It lasted about 6 months and I would get so itchy that I'd scratch myself bloody. So it might be lasting damage from that. I also have ovarian cysts, so the person who suggested I get my uterus checked out, it never occurred that they might be connected. My parents grew up as migrants, so they never went to the hospital unless they were dying, and that means it has transferred over to us, so they almost never take us to the doctors. I'm heading off to college in a few weeks though, so I might stop by a free health clinic or something, since I'll finally be able to. When I sit in a position for too long and then arch my back, my breastbone cracks into place. Not sure if it is the breastbone, but definitely in my chest. I mean, I got this checked out, but apparently I have a good tumor. How good are we talking? It gets up before op and makes breakfast. I feel the need to close my eyes very tight about once every 5 minutes. Hopefully it doesn't make me look like a complete psycho. This sounds like a motor tic. Motor Tourette's, I have the same thing. But I rapidly blink and clench my eyes shut like constantly, as well as raising and lowering my eyebrows. So yeah, great fun. I get red marks on my body after I work out and sweat a lot, but they quickly disappear as soon as I cool down again. 100% normal until I work out again. It also feels itchy when the red marks are there, but the itch disappears with everything else eventually. I get this sharp pain in my ass that lasts a few seconds and it hurts so much. It makes me stand still and not want to move, because it'll just become even worse. Mayo. Doesn't happen too often though. Not me, but my uncle. He's almost 70 now. Over the past few years he has gotten more and more grumpy. Yeah, nothing to worry about. His uncle was like that too. Something old people get. He never wanted to see a doctor, even if his cold didn't seem to go away after 2 months a few years ago. That was bronchitis. Progressed to pneumonia. He still has a nasty cough. About a month ago my grandmother was celebrating her 93rd birthday with her children. My uncle just sat there, staring in the distance, and when trying to talk he just mumbled. My aunt finally took charge and took him to the hospital. Brain scan was done. Turns out he had a lot of tiny brain bleeds, probably over the course of several years. Don't ignore personality changes, no matter how slowly they progress. Sometimes I get this weird feeling like everything is going in slow mo. In contrast, I feel like everything I do is at normal speed. My brain just wants me to do stuff and I feel this burst of energy that makes me feel great. However, there is always a moment where I feel like I should keep moving, because if I stop something bad will happen to me. Usually lasts a few minutes tops. When I manage to calm down everything goes back to normal. Has been happening since I'm a kid. 24 now and still happens every year. Sometimes I can't swallow food or water. It's like my throat just randomly closes, and it isn't a food allergy either. I'm able to swallow if I quickly twist my neck to the side. It temporarily opens my throat. Doesn't happen often enough to warrant a doctor visit. Every once in a while holding a stack of books or a box or similar shaped stuff where the tips of my fingers bent, but the rest was straight, my fingers would lock in place, so I'd have to move my arms and hands in a specific way to unlock them and move my fingers properly. I can't burp. I just get this weird gurgly sound as air bubbles come up through my throat. If gas comes up that way, I can rip some mean ass though. My knees, legs, and butt always vibrate. I don't know why. I might have a phone inside me. Edit. A lot of people are suggesting magnesium, and I trust it. Random twitchy muscles. Often enough to notice that it happens, yet infrequent enough not to be of any concern. Sometimes when I sneeze I get severe pain, stiffness, and pressure in my arms. Internet says it's a pinched nerve. It goes away after a few seconds. Never told a doctor about it, even though it's been happening since I was a kid. Well, I don't think it's really a problem worth getting worried over, but it's something that I always thought wasn't really normal. I get this really weird feeling in my brain sometimes that's incredibly hard to describe, which is honestly why I've never talked to anyone about it. It's like a brain shiver, like when you get the chills, but it's only happening inside your skull and not the rest of your body. There's also a weird almost squeaky sound in my ears when it happens too. When I was little, I used to think it was my brain getting another wrinkle cause I learned something that made me smart. Mayo. Edit. To clarify, there's no physical sensation that happens, no goosebumps or anything like that. Chills are just the closest thing I could think of to compare it to. It's literally just a quick feeling in the middle of my brain that doesn't travel down my body or anything like that. Just a second or two, and then it's over. Edit. I know it sounds similar to brain zaps people get when coming off antidepressants. And I'm assuming it feels the same way. But this has happened for as long as I can remember. Way before I ever took any medications for anything. And it still happens, even now that I'm on stuff for anxiety. Edit. It's not ASMR. They are two completely different feelings. ASMR is a pleasant, skin-tingly feeling. This is like someone poking my brain, and it makes a squishy sound. Or a momentary brain short circuit. It's not in any way a nice feeling, or caused by the same stuff ASMR is. Stop me saying it's just ASMR. This thread made me feel like all bodies are weird and maybe I don't have a hidden tumor after all, lol, thank you. About 60% of the time, when I take a leak, my pee decides to shoot off at a near right angle. I'm a guy. No correlation with recent sex, etc. No way of knowing which direction. I live in fear of the day it finally goes vertical, and I waterboard myself. I've always had this, and resigned myself to a life of being the guy that sits down to pee to avoid spraying the floor of the toilet. I don't need to pee. Then I really need to pee. Like if I don't get to a toilet ASAP I'm gonna pee myself. There's no in between. My stomach makes so much noise. Hungry, full, doesn't matter. Just weird audible squeaky / whistly / gurgle noises all of the time. Like there have been times when my husband is across the room and he can hear my weird tummy talking. I also am very irregular and get horrible stomach cramps, dizziness, heart palpitations, and get overheated almost every time I go to the bathroom. This however is a bigger problem and I have a doctor's appointment next week. Every single time I swallow, my ears pop. The bags under my eyes get purple sometimes. I got a bit of a farmer's tan, but the parts of my skin that are exposed to the sun are like an olive color. Some days I look as pale as a dead man, but feel perfectly fine. My right testicle randomly hurts. I started balding at 16. Sometimes it feels like my heart skips a beat, but that actually went away. I hear people arguing when I try to fall asleep. Look up exploding head syndrome. I hear odd noises when I fall asleep sometimes too. People yelling, often my name. Loud clapping or banging sounds. Always just for a second. When I'm laying down my legs feel weird, and I feel the urge to contract my muscles or IDK just rip them the fuck off. They don't hurt of anything, they just feel weird. Also I get all kinds of weird feelings / twitches on my brain that are hard to describe.